Hey, it's Bill Stewart here with Bill Stewart Homes at Remax Moves. I just wanted to take just a couple moments and talk through compensation agreements. It's sometimes a bit confusing as they come through. It's something that we've always done with for sale by owners in that they with non-listed properties to be able to help understand if and how much a seller was willing to offer in terms of compensation. As opposed to enlisted properties, it used to be stipulated the number and the percentage number used to be listed in the actual MLS as far as like what they were offering, which made it great to for agents to see. The challenge with it was that buyers were unaware. It wasn't something that was in public view, and so at that point, the changes that came through were to help with transparency across the board so that buyers and sellers understood what was happening back and forth, and that buyers specifically understood how much their agents were getting paid through the process, which, in the old way, it wasn't necessarily clear. So what a compensation agreement is basically upfront. What I like to use it for is I will send it across the board to either an agent who's representing the property or to a seller if they're selling it by themselves. And so just to kind of get an idea, what I want to do is buyer agency agreement with your buyer is we've sat down, we've had a conversation. They have a contract similar to when you list a home, they have a contract with a fee total, whether that's a flat fee, a percentage, it could be a variety of different things. And so the buyer knows like through the process, like what they're going to owe their agent. The goal behind it is to figure out whether or not it was something that the seller is offering either, to cover the full or at least or a partial amount of that fee in order to minimize the closing cost impact that buyers have and trying to get it going. So it's become now standard practice, but I do get questions from time to time whenever I send it over. Especially for people who haven't seen the document, and they sometimes get a little bit panicked because of the fact that they feel like, oh crap, I don't want to sign a contract. I don't want to be legally bound. Just so that you know, this is a legally binding contract or legally binding document, I should say, that you agree to pay a certain percentage or a certain dollar amount or things like that if that agent's buyers were to make an offer. But again, it's not just if they make an offer, but it has to be an accepted offer. So you can put whatever you want here. You can agree to whatever you want, but the idea is that you're not paying anything unless that property closes. But before you even got to the closing table, you would have to agree to the terms on the contract. So if you agree to pay, say, $10,000 to the agent if they bring an acceptable offer, but then they don't bring an acceptable offer, and then in turn you come back and say, well, I'll take the offer that the buyer's going, but I'm not going to pay the full $10,000. I decided I'm only going to pay $8,000 towards it. It's all negotiable until it's actually accepted and done. So I just sometimes will tell people like that, don't panic. Just at the end of it, like put what you're going to offer. And then at that point, it still boils down to the meat of the offer has to be acceptable. Otherwise, without an acceptable offer, there is no compensation. This is 0% compensation unless you actually accept the offer and make it to the closing table. So anyway, the idea of what that document's going to look like, it's going to look like this. That this is a compensation agreement in there. Typically, like it's sometimes going to be a listing brokerage that's offering it. Sometimes it's going to be the seller. So in this would be who is offering the compensation, whether it be the listing broker, the seller, maybe the buyer's offering it. For me, most of the time I'm writing these for like on behalf of buyers in the when we're looking and evaluating homes. All right. Down here, the purpose of the activity. For me, it's mostly going to be buying on behalf of whoever my client is. But if you were, it could be a listing, could be a lease or rent. Anyway, we'd want to put all of the information on the property, address, city, state, zip. If there's a unit number, what's the county, what's the lot number, tax map number. What we want to do is get as much information about the property to make sure that we are making an offer on the property that we're going to see and not potentially on a neighbor. Like maybe there is a misunderstanding of the address, either through, a self-posted listing or a MLS style listing. So we just want to make sure that we're making an offer and that we're saying, yes, this is actually the property that you're going to be making your agreement to. This is where I'm going to get questions most of the time, is on the terms. I'll typically do a 90-day window here, partly because buyers may not necessarily make an offer immediately after seeing a property. Maybe they come back a week or 2 weeks later. Then when you start looking at closing date, say you've negotiated the offer, it could be anywhere, and it could be up to 60 days before somebody actually closes. So given the fact of all of this, I'll typically put about a 90-day window on this in regards to terms. But again, this does not contractually bind you to pay me anything unless we make it to closing. It's just saying that if this property closes with this buyer within this timeline, you agree to the compensation agreement as it stands. And then down here would be in number 5, would be either the percentage, total amount, like a dollar amount, a flat fee, whatever it is that we're offering at that point, then would be done, and then stipulating when that would be paid. Here, at the closing of the property, unless it's otherwise agreed to in some other function. And then both the buyer, or both the agent, as well as the seller or seller's broker or seller's broker's agent would then sign that in order to have that be. And then that document, I'm going to use those documents when we are evaluating properties. I'm going to print out the MLS sheet. I'm going to take a look at seller's disclosure statement. I'm going to look at all these different things, as well as having them understand each one from what they're offering in regards to compensation, because those costs are going to be impactful. And I think it helps them to make a more informed financial decision rather than loving a house and then finding out after the fact that the seller is not offering anything, and now all of a sudden they're on the hook for whatever it is that their agreement with their buyer agent was. So nothing to be afraid of. It's a tool just to help communicate what's going on, helping to inform buyers where it is. But I think what's interesting in here is that the parties agree that compensation being paid under this, in the number 6 disclosure, under this agreement, will be disclosed to all parties to the transaction that generates the compensation, that generate the compensation payment. So what that means is that all parties have to know exactly what it is that's being paid, which is something that was not necessarily fully disclosed in the prior to the changes. So now both seller and buyer know what the agent's being paid, and it opens up for a discussion if there's any gap between that buyer agency agreement and whatever the compensation being paid for by the broker or the seller, and giving a much more detailed picture. So I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free. Contact information is in the description below. Feel free, if you want us to take a look at it, just to review it. It really takes a couple seconds just to do it. But any questions, any concerns, please don't hesitate. We'd love to help in any way. I hope you have a great day, and talk to you soon.